Hello and good evening. Welcome along to Business Today. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Buinza Nakauchi on for the sign language interpretation. But first, let's have a look at our top stories.
In Business Today, civil society organization demand for immediate action from Labour Ministry to remedy employment shortfalls. Government promises remedy. Temple Steel's Makerere University's engineering department embark on industrial linkage to equip and support labour uptake. And Semliki's Empire Hot Springs offers commendable tourism pool. Extra visitor members attributed to geological wonders held therein.
All right, now let's get right onto it as we start with the industrial linkages. As industrial and when you look at the institutional linkages are still a loose link in Uganda's job market, despite the importance of emerging labor markets, as the technical output still needs assimilation. Now, the Uganda steel sector manufacturer Tembo Steels has, together with Makerere University, worked on a partnership to bridge the employment gap and provide students with tools needed to succeed in respective fields. Ronan Ahabwe reports.
Makerere University College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology has, through the Mechanical Engineering Department, embarked on a hands-on approach to the technical labor obligations by exploiting the industrial institutional linkage. As part of the job market initiation program, students recently took lessons from Tembo Steels to gain practical experience and learn more about the growing steel industry. The outreach intends to foster acquisition of relevant skills and job opportunities.
To see is better than to read from the books. Number two, this is an industry in the country. So, and you would expect naturally that these people will employ some of these students. So for them to come and see what is taking place in their country is one good thing. But also to appreciate that what they are learning is useful and it can be useful in the economy. So this is a purpose. It's two-way fun to let them see the theory that they have in the books, that it is actually something that happens in the country. Number two, to appreciate that we have the resources in the country and these resources can be used to produce products that we use in our professional lives. Because as mechanical engineers, some of them will end up in fabrication business, some of them will end up in construction works and so on. And most of the engineering activities actually steel is one of the major materials. So one, knowing how it is made and especially knowing how it is won from nature, because the iron ore is dug from the grounds.
Tembo Steels, a leading steel manufacturer, anticipating broader regional outreach, has, according to the recent statistics, recorded an increase in productivity by 20% in the past year, cementing its position as a lead player in the steel industry with a production capacity of 800 tons of steel per annum.
To narrate the story of Tembo Steel, which in the real ground, there are so many propaganda against Tembo Steels. For that we have never defended. But I have got this opportunity to defend my company. As far as capacity is concerned, I think probably we are among the top 5 in the continent. Forget the region. I am on record because you are having these mics and all those stuff, and you can air it wherever you want to do it. We are among the top 5, probably top 5 in the continent. And continent is composed of 60 plus countries, right? And there is a developed world, that is South African continent. Then there is Nigeria, a bigger economy than anybody else, because Nigeria has just overtaken South Africa, even though they don't complete the entire value chain of steel. So this is one. We are among the top 5 in the continent. And as far as diversified product portfolio is concerned, I would like to emphasize on this. And this is very, very important for you also to know. It's a pride moment for all of you to acknowledge this, that probably we are the number one company in the whole of continent in terms of product basket, originated right from primary route. Primary steel making with the varied product portfolio, I would say that we are, not probably, for 100% sure that we are number one steel producer in the continent.
Industrial linkages have continuously been affected by limited funding in research and development, capacity building, technological transfer, among other major considerations. Makerere-Tembo collaboration intends to expand on current operational frameworks to offer insight to the demands of the dynamic job market, operations of the steel industry, and the entire production chain.
As engineers, like engineers from Makerere University, to get to know what is actually happening in our country, what we are able to produce, the technologies that we are currently using, so that where we are going in the future, where we are able to know, I'm going out as a mechanical engineer, what are the expectations, what are the industries I'm looking after to work for, what do they actually do. Meanwhile, while I'm still at campus, can I do some research? Maybe by the time I get there, I have some information. Yeah, I think that would be easier for the employer. I think that is why they are investing much in this, to give us the knowledge. Maybe before we go there to look for jobs, we don't just go there with an empty mind. We have something in mind.
We learn in class, being put into practical. That's really interesting. And I've also learned about safety. Safety is really essential. I've seen the workers working, within the guidelines of the Ministry of Works and everything. I've also learned a few things, and what I've seen here is a job opportunity after my course. Because I'm a finalist, yeah. So I'm looking forward to working with these guys after campus, if given an opportunity.
Such private-public partnerships are keenly considered to support developing strategies such as the national industrialization, job market growth, and private sector-led development. Renana Habwe, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now we turn our eyes to enterprise growth. In an attempt to widen national employment, especially among the young people, public-private initiatives have tended towards social enterprises. Private sector players such as Shift Africa do believe that empowering youth startups is crucial towards addressing the growing unemployment threat. In Uganda, Naomi Mutumba has more.
The Ugandan government has made youth empowerment a top priority as part of its development goal. The government introduced the National Youth Policy in 2013, which aims to provide young people with the opportunity, skills and information they need to contribute to the growth of their country. It also launched a number of projects and programs focused on empowering youth, such as the Youth Livelihood Program, which gives young entrepreneurs skills and capital to start their business, cash and training to launch and expand their businesses. The presidential initiatives on Skilling the Girl Child, which focuses on giving girls and young women training in entrepreneurship and vocational fields, has also been established by the government. Currently, the private sector is working with the government to support social enterprises that are generating employment opportunities for Uganda's youth. They have assisted in addressing some of the largest issues facing the nation, such as gender inequity and youth unemployment, through their creative solutions. Speaking with Emmanuel Ahurea, the founder of Shift Africa, a social enterprise, he mentioned that the organization is supporting young startups in their efforts to reduce the level of unemployment in the nation.
We want them to think outside the box, to create, to innovate. One innovation can offer a number of youth opportunities. So if they can be able to create and believe within themselves and be able to think and know that they can create stuff that can help the others to be part. For example, businesses that are making progress can hire their fellow youth to work together in those businesses. So the unemployment rate should be able to change, especially when the youth are able to support their startups, to strengthen their startups and move them from just a startup to a thriving business which even employs their fellow youth. Yeah.
As we consider the value of labor on this day, it becomes abundantly clear that social enterprises in Uganda are essential to ensuring the youth and the nation has a bright future. Doreen Nyakato, the director of Inspire Chapter, said that they are collaborating with local government officials in various places to reach out to numerous kids so that they can effect change in their areas.
Target group, but you see, it's not necessarily the youth as it is the from 25 years to 45, not necessarily. We feel that everyone has something to offer. Even if you're 90 years, there is something that you have in you to create or to impact other people, or to change community. So we have chosen the youth as a word. However, we are choosing to use as many people as we can that can bring change into their communities. So when we say the youth, we are going to go to schools, we're going to go to different communities, but in the schools we'll find the young people, but in the communities we'll find all age groups, and all age groups are the people that we are going to be dealing with.
Social campaigns are having a significant impact on communities all over the world, giving marginalized populations opportunity and promoting both social and economic development. These organizations have improved the lives of numerous people through initiatives like job training and environmental sustainability.
For years, yes, I was doing things just, without time management. And for this time that I joined Emerge, it has taught me how to manage my time. Because as a makeup artist, most of our working hours, working days is from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But from the time I joined Emerged, I realized that I don't have to wait until I have a client, but I can still wake up, give time to my business, be able to restructure, learn even more. What can I add in my business? What can I take out? So one of them is really time investment, to know how to really manage my time.
To see only one birthday and then the business falls down. Usually that is what the trend is in Uganda. We want to change the status quo. So with life on life mentorship, these mentors go to these rising executives, speak with them about what they have gone through and then the experiences they have already been able to achieve, and then to encourage these CEOs to go ahead with their businesses. And I think this is something that every business really needs. For startups need a mentor. Every startup person
bringing on board trainings, much more of trainings, because this last 4 years you become better when you're able to give out your skill to another person, teach them. So what I'm looking at, my future projects much more have to do with trainings, both in makeup, hairstyling, and also bead working.
Considering that over 75% of Uganda's population is under 30, investing in youth-led social enterprises is essential for the future of the nation. The government has implemented regulations and programs to assist the expansion of these businesses because it recognizes the crucial part that social entrepreneurs can play in empowering young people. To help direct the growth of social enterprises and encourage their contribution to social and economic development, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, for instance, has created a social enterprise strategy and policy framework. Naomi Mtumba, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on elsewhere, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda and the African Petroleum Producers Organization have urged African nations to collaborate and effectively use their oil and gas resources. Now, the latest data does indicate that the bloc exports 70% of its crude oil and 45% of its gas at the backdrop of developments such as the Energy Bank. There is a belief that the backdrop of such developments will create no need to export when the continent owns the largest impoverished population. Patterson Mumbere reports.
According to global energy statistics, Africa currently exports 70% of its crude oil and 45% of its gas, and Africa has the least access to energy. The question is, where did Africa go wrong? During the first Oil and Gas Expo, an event that was organized by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, Dr. Farouk Ibrahim, the General Secretary of the Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, observed that Africa got it wrong from the very beginning, where oil and gas development followed the colonial tradition and that the industry was structured to serve foreign and not domestic needs, where he urged African nations to collaborate together to use their oil and gas resources to end energy poverty.
Why must Africa export oil and gas when it has the largest proportion of the global population living in energy poverty? Why must African countries export oil and gas when our factories are daily shutting down because of lack of electricity? Our patients are dying in our hospitals because there is no electricity, and our productivity is a fraction of our potential because the energy to realize the full potentials are exported.
As part of the efforts to commercialize Uganda's newly found oil and gas resources, the government of Uganda and Tanzania are to construct the East African crude oil pipeline that will export the crude to the port of Tanga. Dr. Farouk Ibrahim suggests that Uganda, as a newcomer, has to move fast to acquire skills and technology.
As a newcomer, Uganda has to move fast to acquire the technology and the skills. Unlike the older players, Uganda does not have the luxury of time to learn the skills or acquire the technology.
Studies from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda have shown that every $1 directly invested in the oil and gas sector is expected to yield direct growth of the GDP by $0.6. Therefore, a direct investment of $15 billion, that's 33% of the Uganda's current GDP, is estimated at 45 billion in the oil and gas sector, is expected to yield direct growth of the GDP by close to $9 billion. That's close to 20% of the current GDP by the time oil is achieved.
That the GDP of Uganda has an opportunity to double in 5 years as a result of the oil and gas sector. Now, if a country's GDP doubles in 5 years, I don't know how many economists are in this room, you know how phenomenal that will be. If our GDP now is about $47 billion, if in 5 years' time it can approach $100 billion, it's a big leap.
A study conducted by Apple recently found that there are 3 major challenges in the oil and gas sector in Africa. They include funding, expertise acquisition, and the challenge of finding markets for oil and gas in an event that the developed countries succeeded to shift from no-fossil energy.
A major study conducted by Apple on the future of the oil and gas industry in Africa in the light of the energy transition identified 3 imminent challenges for the industry. These are the challenge of funding of oil and gas projects, the challenge of technology and expertise acquisition, and the challenge of finding markets for our oil and gas in the event the developed countries succeed in moving away from oil and gas.
As part of the solution, experts advocated for the need for the African governments to devote more money within their budgets to develop oil and gas resources, given the declining interest from the oilmen from the West and the Asian countries. Pedson Mumbere, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
And now our eyes turn to the Labour Day memoirs. As Uganda joins the rest of the world to observe the International Labour's Day, the lawmakers, on the other hand, have called upon government to be transparent enough and implement labour policies in the country. As a section of the legislators believe that there is nothing to celebrate about this day in face of a non-existent minimum wage and the ever-growing labour externalization. Samla Hanifa reports.
The origin of Labour Day dates back to the 19th century. Workers worldwide started demanding better working conditions, shorter working hours, and fair wages. This day is celebrated every 1st of May worldwide, Uganda inclusive, although most of its purpose is not reflected in Ugandan labour force. According to a section of legislators, the celebrations do not make sense for a country without a minimum wage bill which would have protected workers from exploitation, and that is why Ugandans keep flocking the Middle East for jobs.
Why would our people run away from Uganda to go to the Middle East to be employed in even despisable jobs if there were conditions of favoring workers here? Government is not doing enough. Without a law that regulates minimum wage, under which a worker should not be paid. Our workers are tortured, our workers, we need a lot more than celebrating. Government should not every other day come to celebrate workers, International Labour Day. without anything tangible to the ordinary worker.
Today, we don't have jobs in Uganda. That is why we have licensed many companies which are taking young people to the Arab country to do work. That should not be the case. People should be contented working here. Unfortunately, when our people establish businesses, what the URA cares is about taxing them. And they tax them so much that they destroy all the businesses and they kill them off. People who have the zeal to give employment to hundreds of people, even tens of people, end up not being able to make their businesses stand because of the high taxes that this government. So it destroys business and it destroys the enthusiasm of entrepreneurs to start business to employ other people.
According to Honorable Byakatonda Abdul, a workers MP, Uganda used to be at the same level of development with countries like South Korea, Taiwan, and Malaysia, among others, during the 1990s, but all these countries have surpassed it simply because they strategically used their workforce to develop themselves, something which Uganda has still failed to adopt.
So this economy needs to grow. For example, when we talk of economies that were at the same level of independence, like Uganda, you talk of South Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia, and others. These economies had slowed down in 1997, but they strategically sought through the worker force, refine the workplace, profile the competencies, and they started actually on even textiles. And at the end of the day, they're now actually ahead of us in terms of economics. So these issues must be handled properly.
Legislators say government has passed several laws to protect workers, but lack of implementation has rendered all of them powerless, and it has contributed to exploitation of Ugandan labor force.
Sexual harassment is concerned. That's where we have a challenge and we are trying to improve. So the problem now is implementation. If we implement the laws we have, we shall be in a better position to protect our workers in Uganda. Except these people in charge, the police, the courts of law, and even the employers, they have to come up and try to implement the laws which are available at the moment.
We can't say we have a platform that helps workers where the labor dispute courts cannot expedite justice to workers if they have disputes with the employers. We have looked at employers going to labor officers at the districts or divisions and municipalities. These labor officers toss workers who have disputes with the employers. A worker who has been unlawfully terminated or dismissed or without his benefits given cannot complain and be helped.
According to the Ugandan Bureau of Statistics, 41%, which represents 9.3 million Ugandans aged between 18 and 30, are not engaged in any productive activity. Samla Hanifa compiled this story.
Right now, let's look at Uganda's tourism sector. The sector is keen on the impact of wild wonders as Semeliki's Sempaya Hot Springs increasingly becomes a formidable force, extending popular tourist destinations and attracting visitors all over. Now, the geographical attraction is partly banked on the increasing inflow of visitors to the west. Martha Nimsima reports.
Located in Semiliki National Park, there are a cluster of hot springs that spew boiling water and steam up to the height of 2 meters into the air. With the geology of the area, its unique features of the male and female springs, surrounded by a lush forest, has also created a unique ecosystem around the hot springs, with different plant and animal species adapted to the hot and humid conditions.
An East African resident, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, as you know, you pay 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Foreign non-residents, you pay $35, and then foreign residents, you pay $25. For the school kids, we have a lot of schools because they always want to know about the hot springs. They pay 1,500 each school going. Then for the kids who are tourists, they pay 2,500. And then we have many activities in Semliki National Park. The hot springs is one of them, but we also have birding, where we have about over 450 bird species.
The water temperature in the Sempaya hot springs can reach up to 95 to 97 degrees Celsius, making it one of the hottest springs in the world. The extreme heat of the hot springs has also led to several scientific studies, with researchers keen to understand the geology and chemistry of the area to gain insights into the origins of these unique thermal features.
The geology could be simply the nature of the rocks, the typical setup of the rock types of an area, how this geology or the nature of the rocks and beginning from the process of formation affects the springs around. It's like during the process of formation, or like underneath the Earth's surface, we have high temperatures, more so in the mantle, and because of different cracks within the rock or within the geology, within the rock surfaces, these temperatures tend to escape through those cracks, the joints and so on, and you find the rock itself is warm without water, or it's hot without water. And now, due to the existence of the water in that area per se, it makes it become a hot spring. So the geology of an area ends up affecting the nature of the waters, that is the hot springs, in that way, because the rocks are the conductors that generate that heat, or that bring that heat to the what? To the water.
To ensure the protection of the environment around Sempaya hot springs, it is vital to implement sustainable tourism practices that can minimize the negative impact of tourism activities while creating economic opportunities for the local communities. Such initiatives can foster the long-term survival of the Sempaya hot spring ecosystem by reducing human pressure on the environment while providing economic benefits to the surrounding communities.
Awareness, they do that one in hand with problem animals, so we work as a team. But however, people have really need to cultivate because they have what they don't have to eat.
Sempaya hot springs are not only a natural wonder but also a significant contributor to the economic growth of Uganda. The increasing number of visitors to the springs has created business opportunities and employment for the locals, and the government's investment in infrastructure development has improved the visitors' experience. Martha Nimsima, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now we do return shortly after the break to give you more business reports coming in here on your Labor Day broadcast.